Shalom, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Yesterday I was watching a film on King Solomon, and I got revelation from the Lord in relation to what was happening in the United States in relation to Trump and Biden. And if you look at the account of the life of King Solomon, David, obviously, Solomon was David's son through Bathsheba, and King Solomon was kind of known as a poet, and David had another a son called Adonijah, and he was kind of more of a warrior, a fighter, and he presumed that he would be king one day. Anyway, when it came to King David's death, at the time of his death, the Lord gave him a dream and told him very clearly that it was to be Solomon who was to be the king and not Adonijah. So God confirmed to David in a dream that it was to be Solomon who was to be king, and Solomon was quite humble by the sounds of it. He presumed that the kingship would go to the brother. So the two of them were standing before King David, and David said, "Is there any jealousy between you two?" And they both said, "No, no, no." And there wasn't any jealousy from Solomon, but there was from Adonijah, because when King David decreed that Solomon would be king, Adonijah went crazy, and he basically vowed to kill Solomon, and he had real hatred in his heart for Solomon. So Solomon actually prayed to God for understanding and wisdom, and because he did that, the Lord made him very wealthy and gave him great riches. But King Solomon appointed his brother Adonijah as head of the army, and he said to Solomon at the time, "I don't know whether you're like really wise or really crazy, because you do realize that I can use the army against you at some point." So roll forward a bit, and King Solomon gets involved with the Queen of Sheba, who's also scheming on behalf of Egypt to try and destroy Israel and destroy Solomon. But she ends up falling in love with him and bearing a child with him. And so she had been in cahoots with Egypt to destroy Israel. And she did have a relationship with him, and she ended up bringing idolatry into Israel, and God issued judgment on them, and the tribes were split because of this alliance. And Adonijah knew that King Solomon was in a bad position, and this was a great time to take the throne. So he raised up an army against King Solomon. But what he also did was he went to Egypt, and this is where the revelation the Lord gave me comes from. He went to Egypt, and he was with the Pharaoh, and he says to the Pharaoh, "I am meant to be the king of Israel, not Solomon." And then the king of Pharaoh does a decree, and he says, "I decree King Adonijah as the king of Israel." So what the Lord showed me was that basically Adonijah was Biden, issuing a decree saying that he was to be the president of the United States, and the Pharaoh of Egypt was the media, and the media were declaring an illegal decree. God showed me it's an illegal decree saying that Biden is the president, which he isn't. So God gave me that revelation yesterday after I watched that film on King Solomon. And of course, God protected the life of King Solomon, and he fought the battle against Adonijah. And King Solomon did remain king. But it's very clear that the illegal decree, and it's interesting that it was made by Pharaoh from Egypt. God's shown me that's the media being used by the devil to decree out into the airwaves an illegal decree that Biden, a communist, is the president of the United States, and he's not. And Adonijah represents Biden, who has gone to the evil forces of China to take down America, basically, and the world, and to bring it into communism. So that's the revelation I got from the Lord yesterday, that Adonijah was Biden, and that the king of Pharaoh was the media and China working together to take down America and to bring the world into communism, not just sorry, my light went off. Not just America, but the whole world. I mean, Biden is paid by China, as is Fauci. They're both paid directly by China to bring in communism. So, but the important point is that when God decrees a person is to be king, nothing stops it. Okay, so King David was decreed to be king despite everybody thinking it was going to be all his older brothers. It wasn't. It was the youngest one, and the most unlikely one was to be king. God decreed that he would be king. And then King David was given a dream by the Lord, and the Lord spoke to him in the dream and said, it is Solomon that is to be king, not Adonijah. So Adonijah in his own flesh thought that he was supposed to be king, and then he was able to mobilize the Egyptians, who represent evil, of course, and the world, and to rally with him to destroy not just his own country and countrymen, but to destroy Israel as well. But God didn't let it happen. So it's the same thing that's happening in the American elections. Okay, Biden has decreed an illegal decree with the backup of the media and China, and it will not work in the spiritual realm because God has already decided that Trump is to be the president. All right. So God bless you for now. I hope you're having a nice evening. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.